so many people get caught up on others' opinions.
The attitude of that school was just like, you guys are here for a reason.
If you had the money and the opportunity to send your children to private school, what did you say to me? I think those are parental choices that are very challenging.
Because you get influenced by who you're around.
Culturally, there's a different expectation that Black teachers and administrators have for Black students. Welcome to Approximate Conversations, and it is my delight and pleasure to have my oldest child as my guest. Welcome to the show, Nathan.
Hello.
And I'm so proud of Nathan. He just recently graduated from high school, and he's going to be attending college at the University of Minnesota, Morris. And that is the college where I attended, as well as my wife. And so Nathan will be going to our alma mater. And it feels a little surreal for me and your mom to have our son going to the college where we met. But I just want you to know that we are so proud of you, and we know that you're going to be a great contribution to that school. Morris was the only college that you were interested in. Can you tell me, like, why did you were just so singularly focused, I would say, on that one particular school?
Because it's, for one, where my parents went, and so it feels like kind of cool to go, where your parents went, especially because I don't have, like, there's some kids who have parents that went to my high school or things like that. They'll be like, oh yeah, I taught your mom way back when.
Oh, sure.
And it's like, I don't have that opportunity considering both of you are from a different state. And so this is the only place I could really go that you guys have been to. It's like when we went there and I saw a picture of you guys, and I saw Rodney in one of the photos. It's like, it's cool to see that. And it feels like I can also be a part of the legacy that we have at a university, as well as the fact that it is free tuition for me because I am Native American. That's a great benefit. As well as the fact that it is a change of scenery, being far from home, 2.5 hours away, but it is not too far to where I can't come back. Because like there's a girl at my school that's going to the University of Cincinnati. It's like some schools are just further than others. People going to Kansas, and it's like, if you go somewhere like that, you're really not going to be able to come back as often. 2.5 hour drive. It's a long drive, but it's not a impossible one. And so it's like I can be independent and away from you guys without being stranded from you.
Okay, that's a great way of saying it, because it's in a rural area. So it's really what we would say country in that area of Minnesota. It's prairie land, as they call it here. So it's a lot of flat land, and you go through some farm towns and things like that. So, which is a switch from you being in the suburb of the Twin Cities of Minneapolis, and so going to that area. But I know that you're going to flourish there also in leadership. That's one of the other things that I'm very proud of you, is being a part of the debate team and, always showing leadership within your friend circle. And Morris was where I took in leadership of being part of gospel choir, Black Student Union. We also had a men's group for Black men called Imani, and I was a part of that leadership as well. And so I think one of the perks of going to a smaller campus is that you are known by the faculty and the staff. You're not just student number 13344. They're going to know you, and your impact is going to be seen. What are some of the things that you're interested in getting involved in when you attend college?
Well, I've always, loved sports. And so I'm going there for one of my majors is sports management. And so doing stuff with sports, most likely sports broadcasting We already talked to athletic director about that, and I just have to show interest. And they said that they're always open to having somebody to do that. So, especially for football and soccer, basketball, the sports that I've watched so much of and played, it'd be pretty easy for me to, commentate those, as well as looking into something in the fine arts area, mostly theater, because not only Rodney did theater, and so it'd be pretty cool, do that. But also, I love singing songs, especially from Wicked, my favorite musical. And it just brings me so much joy. And I really realized that while singing those songs, when people look at me funny, it's like I really just don't care. And I think that that's a very good mentality to have when it comes to doing theater, is to not care if other people find you weird.
I think it's a good mentality to have for doing anything that you enjoy. I think so many people get caught up on others' opinions or perspective, and they can't shake that loose. And so then they don't even try something that they may have an interest in. And so what I like about what you just said, Nathan, is that you've never done theater in high school, but it's something that you've admired and have developed an interest in, and you sing the musicals. Some days I've seen you sing Beauty and the Beast or Aladdin, Wicked, like you said before. And I think at the University of Minnesota Morris, you mentioned your cousin Rodney, that's where he started acting. He didn't act in high school either. And Morris gave him that opportunity. And he's been in plays in the Twin Cities and performs with the Sounds of Blackness. And so those are great examples for you to see and for you to try to model after. Even if you don't do the exact same things, you at least know that those options are available because you had that real life examples in front of you. And I bring this up because I remember talking to you one time about the show A Different World. And I was telling you how that show had inspired me to want to go to college, and watching them. And that was one of my favorite shows. And one of the main things I loved about it was it showed the diversity of Black people, that we're not monolithic. You had the studious Kim Reese and Dwayne Wayne. You had Ron, who was into the frats, was a ladies' man. Whitley, who came from money. And then you had non-traditional student in Jaleesa. So it showed an array of Blackness. And for me, I didn't have many examples at home of folks who had went off to college and finished. And so A Different World was inspiration for me. And I remember you saying to me, why did you need a TV show to inspire you to go to college? For you, it was like an automatic thing. Like, I just know this is the next step in what I'm supposed to do. And so what I say to that, Nathan, is that you have been brought up in a different environment where college is the expectation. And it doesn't even have to be articulated to me and your mom to you. It's something that you already know based off of what you've seen. So it's awesome to hear you say these things that you want to get involved in when you go to college, because that says to me, your mom, your cousin, and that we've now set a different path, which now when you have children, they're going to raise the stakes even higher. So you graduated high school, and I want to talk about some of your high school experience, because I had pitched to you a hypothetical question, because I am a public education person. From Chicago, I had a great elementary. You know my grammar school, because that's how fondly we talk about it. What's the name of my grammar school? Guggenheim, absolutely. And all of my siblings, we all went to the same school. My mom was in the PTA. If Ms. Vaughn said, I'm gonna call Miss Fair, we straighten up and act right. It was that type of relationship between the school and home. And so I really had a great experience there. And so public education, and I worked in public education, so it's something that's very dear to me, I would say. But I asked you a hypothetical question. I said, Nathan, if you had the money and the opportunity to send your children to private school, what did you say to me?
Yes.
Okay. Now tell me, why did you say yes?
Because of the fact that there are certain aspects of public schooling that my kids, if possible, wouldn't be exposed to in person, and it just would be my preference. Because I've gone to public school and I have so many friends, and it's been great. The school experience has been great. Teachers have been great.
Can we break it down first? So your elementary public school experience was in Minneapolis.
Yes.
At a Spanish immersion school.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so that experience for you, would you say, how does that compare to like your middle and high school? Like, how would you rank those different experiences?
Well, my elementary would probably be my best experience. It is where I felt the most included. I was in the band. I did all sorts of activities. I was in all of the plays that they did there, and the art stuff, and all the shows that we did. And we had different groups that made me feel seen. And it is where I met some of my best friends that I still talk to today, my day ones. And the teachers, when I was there, I really made a close connection with, to the point where just a few years ago, when we went for Bryson, my little brother's graduation, they still recognized me, and my teacher, Miss Erica, wanted to take a picture. And my little brother said the next day it was on her wall.
Oh, that's so cool.
She really, like, you were really able to get a bond there. And when I was there, it felt like, because it was a Spanish immersion school, it felt like everybody there, their parents had high hopes for their kids and wanted them to be more. Because the average person who is just expecting their kid to cruise through high school and that's it, is not going to be looking for their kid to be bilingual. Mm. And so most of the kids at that school, I would say, not all of us were like, oh, we're a super gifted school, but it was like, the attitude of that school was just like, you guys are here for a reason. Not every kid is going to be bilingual. And so you guys need to be special. And so we're going to be a good school.
It's harder for students who are knuckleheads. Let's just be honest. It's harder for them to keep up with an academic rigor that requires you to be bilingual. And so just by the nature of that type of schooling is going to eliminate some folks from being there, which creates a different environment. It's people who actually want to be there and actually trying, and not just going to your neighborhood school because they have to accept you. It's a difference. Okay, I know you had a rough middle school experience. You went through middle school through COVID, and you had a shooting that happened in your school. Bomb threat. I mean, it was so traumatic. You really did not like your middle school experience at all. Do you want to say anything in regards to that?
Yeah, I think that so by far middle school was my worst experience so far. My 6th grade year was hard because I was transitioning from Minneapolis to Robbinsdale schools. And when transitioning, it's like you need to make all new friends, because I wasn't like our little brother Bryson. He was participating in Little League baseball, which got him to know some kids, and basketball that got him to know some kids that were going to be on at his school. But I was participating in church league and a local community center. And so it wasn't as many opportunities for me to get to know kids that are going to be around me. Yeah. And so when I got to Plymouth, it was all new faces and I had to learn all new people. And that was difficult. Really, the only people I knew was Ruth and Jonathan off rip, who are twins that I went to church with and did soccer with. Other than that, it was like I may have seen you here or there, but I really didn't know anybody or was friends with anybody whatsoever. And in 6th grade, it was nice. I was in the band, and the Spanish classes felt very close together. But then COVID happened, and after that, I kind of got distant from a lot of people because I didn't have a phone at the time, and so I had no way of contacting these people other than an email. And at 13, 14 years old, at 12, 13 years old, I'm not emailing my friends, hey, what's your gamer tag? That's so weird. It was so weird and awkward to me. So I was just like, you know what? I'm going to kick it with my boys from elementary school.
I didn't realize. So you had to email because you didn't have a phone?
Yep.
Oh boy. So
I had no way of contacting them.
So we had you behind the times.
Oh, for sure.
Well, okay. Well, I think those are parental choices that are very challenging of when to decide to let a child have a phone or not. Because once you give a child a phone, now you're opening up Pandora's box. And it's a matter of how many things that come out of that box. But so I don't necessarily apologize for delaying giving you a phone. I just say that that's a judgment call for every parent to decide. I do think sometimes parents give phones to children too soon, and they use that as a way to occupy a child, and then you're creating a habit that continues with them as they get older. But okay, so that was a rough middle school experience. And so I want to get to your high school experience, because this is what really caused you to say, I would rather do private school for my children, like if you were to have children, versus public, because of, let's just be honest.
Really
Okay?
started in 8th grade.
Huh?
I said this really started in 8th grade.
It really started in 8th grade. Okay, tell me about 8th grade.
So coming out of COVID in 7th grade, the school shooting happened, which for one, I don't know a statistic, but I guarantee you that over half of school shootings happen at public schools. And school shootings are a big problem in the United States. It's not as big of a problem in any other country around the world. It's nowhere near what the United States has. Obviously, every country is going to have these tragedies, but the United States has it tenfold, and it's ridiculous. And I was a part of one. Luckily, nobody was injured. It was just shots at the ceiling, but still, at the time, you don't know what happened. You just hear a loud bang and you rush into a classroom, and then they say, there is a school shooting. This is not a drill. And all I'm thinking about is, what in the world? You don't know if anyone's dead. You don't know if anyone's injured. And then rumors start going around, people texting, and we find out that he was a 6th grader. My sister's a 6th grader at the time. And luckily she had texted and said she was okay, which was so relieving. But just knowing that she was right around the corner from when this happened is terrifying. Okay. And that was a very traumatic experience. And then middle school was also where I saw my first real fight. And it was between these two African-American students who were fighting over, they were supposed to be slap boxing, which is play fighting, where we're going to open hand fight in the bathroom. And then they got taken seriously. One of the kids ran out of the bathroom. The kid followed him behind and jumped him over his back. I was on the way to basketball practice when this happened, and I saw it, and it stunned me. I didn't know what to say or do. And I panicked and speed walked away. Didn't say a word to anybody. But I was like, what in the world was that? So those experiences, the shooting and that fight, were traumatic for you. Yeah. And leading into 8th grade, there was a situation where this kid was accused of saying the N-word in a game called Minecraft, and it was getting around. And this African-American kid, Chance, was like, I'm going to confront him about this. And in the cafeteria in front of all the students in 8th grade, jumped all the way in the air and Superman punched this boy. And then it ensued into a Tom and Jerry chase around the school. And it just felt like a lot was going on, and it was a mess. And I was like, why are we having to deal with this? And it just felt like there was a lot of unnecessary stuff happening at school, and preventable things, like things that a kid should not have to go through. I agree. And I'm glad you said that, because I went through public schools also. Granted, it was at a different era, but it was public schools nonetheless. And it wasn't that level of chaos and anarchy. Did we have fights? Yes.
but they also have fights at Catholic schools also. They also have fights at private schools. So that's not exclusive to a public school. I would say though, at your middle school, how many Black teachers did you have there?
One.
Okay. At your Spanish immersion elementary school, did you have more Black teachers there?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think culturally, there's a different expectation that Black teachers and administrators have for Black students. And they are not afraid of, for the most part, they're not afraid of implementing structure and not compromising with students. I know that was the case for me when I went to school. There was structure, and children had a healthy respect for an adult. And there's a lot of structure that's missing in the school, but I'm going to argue and say it starts at home.
Mm-hmm.
So here you are, was raised in a home environment to treat people a certain way, talk a certain way, show respect to teachers, but you do also have to intermingle with other kids who were raised differently. And that's always going to be the case, no matter what school you go to. Everyone is raised differently. Okay. Now, these traumatic things happen in 8th grade. Now you go to high school. Now, here's what I really want to get to, Nathan. And this is the heart of what I want to talk about with you, is because one of the things that you said to me of why you would choose private, you said, if I can avoid my kids interacting with ratchet ghetto behavior. And I was shocked to hear that from you. I'm like, boy, you go to school in the suburb near Medicine Lake. I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, I went to school in the hood and I had to deal with thugs. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that was a legitimate real thing. So I couldn't imagine what you're describing in your suburb compared to what I went to in the hood. But I will say this though, that there were more, my high school was a small number, but I would say there were more kids in my high school. It was all Black, so it was a homogenous environment, but there were more who were focused on trying to graduate than not. And there were more kids who were respectful to adults than not. That wasn't the commonplace. Even at my hood school in Chicago, Paul Robeson, like the majority of the students there knew how to conduct themselves, were respectful to teachers and administrators. Now, 2026, at your school, how would you describe how the Black students interact with teachers, one another? I mean, enlighten me.
Well, for one, all of the Black students that I interact with, most of them, if not all of them, are people that aspire to be a part of the Black excellence culture. I took AP African American Studies, which was a 99.9% Black class. We had one white student when I took it. And all of those people in that class, even if they were a little more ratchet, were aspiring to be something more than what they were. And they wanted to learn more about their culture, and they wanted to, you know, grow their intelligence. And
Sure.
That environment felt very enriching for me. And it really helped me to not be as negative towards the African Americans at my school, because I knew that there were African Americans that were not ratchet at my school. Obviously, I was like, I exist. Duh, there's more. But I wasn't aware of how many there were until I took this class, and I really see how many there are. And it helped me a little bit to get a sigh of relief. But the issue is that at Armstrong, the amount of African American students that walk around with shiesties on, smoking in the bathrooms, sagging their pants, cussing all the time.
What's a shiesty?
It's the thing you put over your face.
Like the ski mask?
Yes, the ski mask.
Okay.
That walk around with their pants sagging, cussing all the time, that have to be taken to ISS and eventually get sent to the alternative school. If you were to go
ISS is like inter-school suspension. Okay. Let me pause real quick, Nathan, with the ski mask, because I was a part of an event where boys that we mentor were being honored at a luncheon. And this is what really blew my mind. These kids came in and they were from Armstrong and they refused to take off their ski masks. I'm like, boy, it's 80 degrees outside, number one. And I talked to one of the boys. I said, hey, you knew what you were coming to. This event was more, we're trying to teach them how to wear a tie and, be a little more dressed up. So I said, you knew where you were coming to. Why would you come dressed like this? And he said to me with a straight face, and I said, you need to take that off. I said, why would you wear that here? And he said with a straight face, because my hair is effed up. Didn't even flinch, didn't think twice about it. To me as an adult. And that just showed me how many of these students, and that ain't the first time I've heard a student curse like that in a school setting. And it was disheartening for me because the culture and pride of being a scholar, being educated that I once knew has now dissipated. And what you have experienced now have you saying, I don't want my kids going to public schools.
Yeah, and it's because the experience that I've had with Ratchet and Ghetto People has really put a bad taste in my mouth. And I see people like at graduation, I saw this girl with all this hoopla on her neck and on her cap. And when she walked across that stage, we're the loudest somebody's in the room. And she's not going to college, not going to a community college, not going to a trade school, not going to a university, nothing. She's taking a gap year, I'm pretty sure. And it's like, to see that, it's like your whole family sees you walking across that stage as an accomplishment, which it is, but they see that as the accomplishment.
The pinnacle of your...
And I just think of it like, for everybody else there, they were celebrating their kids, but they were saying, this is fantastic. You have moved on to the next step. They were saying you have moved on to the final step. And that's what I don't want my kids to even have to be around, because you get influenced by who you're around.